incredible India amidst the new global order and challenges. Now, in the inaugural session, we have heard many speakers with regard to the challenges that have been flagged and listed by, at the global level and the domestic challenges as well. Even for the sake of repetition, I would like to just touch upon those areas so that the speakers can be more focused and converged on the issue of this session. So on the international front, I would say that we face challenges. In fact, all the countries are facing challenges, not just India. Geopolitical shifts, the climate concerns, the digital disruptions, the change in the consumer behavior, travel expectations have evolved and changed. Visa restrictions, international immobility, I would say, and competition among the various nations, and of course the supply chain disruptions which have happened because of geopolitical problems. Now, as we deliberate in the session, let us identify the implications of these concerns which I have flagged just now, and try to deliberate as to how India can convert them into future opportunities. After all, India has been doing extremely well in the tourism sector. The purpose of selecting this topic by FAST was primarily to see what can be done in the future to mitigate the negative impact of these challenges, because challenges have always been there. So friends, we have a very seasoned set of panel speakers today, and I don't want to introduce them once again. They've already been introduced, but I would like to begin with Mr. Ashish Gupta to share his thoughts on the subject. What I would try to do is, of course, we'll try to finish by 2 o'clock. And since we have 3 speakers instead of 4 in the first session, maybe if I get time, we can go for a second round. But in the first round, I would certainly request all the speakers to come out with their own thoughts about this topic which I have flagged just now. And later on, maybe if time permits, I'll go to the second round and ask some specific questions related to your experiences, your knowledge, your backgrounds with regard to the topic that we are discussing. So, Mr. Ashish Gupta, please share your thought and kindly suggest also how incredible India can truly shine among these current global challenges, and the domestic challenges. Mr. Ashish Gupta.
Can I speak from here?
Wherever, yes. The speakers are free to speak from the dais, or maybe they can go to the podium. If they have a presentation, then of course they will have to go there.
Namaste everyone. General Said, Management Committee of FAST, Mrs. Rishi, thank you very much for the invite. So, this is a very interesting topic, and I would like to share my thoughts over the next 5 to 10 minutes, if possible. This morning I was reading an interview of Rohit Sharma. So someone asked him that, do you want the Indian cricket team to be more aggressive? Rohit Sharma said, किसने पूछा, do you want Indian team to be more aggressive? And he said, aggression doesn't mean that we have to be reactive. It just means we have to be action oriented. So I think that's a very good way to even look at Indian tourism, that we do not have to react to what's happening around the world. As Mr. Rishi rightly said, a lot of events will always be beyond our control. What is in our control is what is it that we need to do as a country to amplify and magnify the assets of tourism that we currently have. So a couple of suggestions, as Rishi rightly asked. I will start with the second part of this. It says challenges. So, long time back we saw this movie which was Sholay, and Sholay mein Gabbar ne pucha tha ki kitne army the, and I think that question is very relevant to Indian tourism. Kitne tourists hain? I think that's a very critical question to be asked today, and I will put it in 2 parts. Number one, if you look at a comparison between India and just let's take 2 countries. I think you were right in saying why Dubai, why Singapore. let's just take two countries, USA and China, the most developed country and the developing country that we benchmark ourselves to. In USA, for every four citizens, there is one foreign tourist. For every 4 citizens, there is one foreign tourist in USA. And for every citizen, there are 2 domestic or 2.5 domestic tourism visits. So the population of USA is 300 million. The domestic tourism visits around 700 million. In China, for the number of domestic tourism visits is approximately 5. For every citizen, there are around 5 domestic tourism visits. Now let's put this in Indian perspective. For India, I think this point was raised in the morning, domestic tourism visits versus foreign tourism arrivals. Actually, that foreign tourist arrivals of 10 million, 11 million translates to 33 million DTVs, domestic tourism visits. It's a factor of approximately 3.3. So in India, one citizen translates to just approximately 2.5 domestic tourism visits. And for every one citizen, you have a 0.001 ratio of a foreign tourist. So the potential is very high. This is one comparison that we need to see. The second comparison is that if you look at the average spend of a domestic tourism in India, it's estimated to be approximately 7,000 to 8,000 rupees per trip. But if the same domestic tourist goes abroad, it's estimated to be 1 lakh rupees. So the point here is, ladies and gentlemen, that if an Indian tourist is spending on an average, it's around 7,000, 8,000 rupees per trip, but bahar jaate hue they end up spending 1 lakh. That means there is a huge gap in what we can create in India in terms of potential tourism destinations. We are letting go of this opportunity. So, जैसे cricket में बोलते हैं hit wicket. So I think one of the key factors that we need to start off with is by examining why is it, as was rightly said, it's not about stopping people from going abroad, it's about identifying how can we create more opportunities within India for tourists to spend within the country. And one of the key aspects of that is the whole taxation element. In India, the taxation element in terms of the ATF, in terms of GST, which was earlier, which has now been brought to 5, but the setups are not given, it keeps on compounding. So for example, if you are doing a conference in India, the end result is you end up spending 30 to 35% on taxes alone, which makes it difficult for any company, etc. to do events in India. So the first key aspect is we need to look at a holistic element of taxation, indirect taxation I'm talking about. The whole concept of GST earlier was very good, which is you subsume all taxes, but they are still now, you have VAT on petrol, you have VAT on liquor, you don't have set-offs available. So this compounds, making it one of the more expensive aspects. The second aspect is in terms of marketing investment. As I'm sure all of you are aware or probably not aware, India currently doesn't have a marketing budget for inbound tourism. And we do not have a marketing budget. It's a very insignificant marketing budget. So recently, as was mentioned, Faith had a conclave, and Mr. Amitabh Khan made an observation saying that we should allocate 20,000 crores. Now let's keep this number apart. Most of you are businessmen. For growing your business, you do spend in marketing, right? You spend maybe 1% of your turnover in marketing, 2% in marketing. Similarly, in India, we should, if we are getting 3 lakh crores from foreign spends, which is approximately $30 billion, and it is estimated that the tourism economy is approximately $185 billion. At least 1% should go in marketing. At least 1%. So the second suggestion, Mrs. Dikshi, is that we should create a corpus for marketing for Indian tourism. And the third element is how should this corpus be spent. Now we are a democracy, which means that political parties come and go, our bureaucrats on a rotation come and go. How do we ensure that the activities which are started, with good activities started by one officer, continue? So marketing activities, when they are started, need to continue irrespective of the change in the secretariat or the Ministry of Tourism. So we need to create now, for example, USA has something called brand USA. Irrespective of who comes in power, brand USA is continuously funded through a very unique business model. We need to look at a similar concept for India. How do we ensure that we have a brand corpus for Incredible India, which keeps on getting funded from the tourism spend which is created and perpetually keeps on growing. Point number 4 is statistics. Now this point came up in the morning and obviously there was a bit of confusion, and that's very correct. We require as a country to invest in 3 levels of statistics. One, where does the domestic tourism go and actually how much do they spend? We need to, a complete footprint is required. It's currently estimated that domestic tourism visits approximately 2.3 billion or 2.5 billion domestic tourism visits. But where do they go? How much do they spend? What is the economic impact? That is not fully determinable. Second is, as Mr. Rishi rightly said, when a foreign tourist enters, he is recorded at the point of immigration. After that, it's a conjecture by state governments that अगर 10 million tourists आते हैं, so उसमें से 33 million उनका impact होता है, मतलब एक foreign tourist तीन states में जाता है इंडिया के. But this is not proven. What it's required. So if tomorrow one of you is a hotelier and you want to set up, say, a hotel in Nalanda or a hotel in Visakhapatnam, जैसे आपने कहा, how will they come to know the exact data point? If you don't have the exact data point, you will never be able to estimate the correct business economics. The fourth thing in statistics is, it is estimated कि अगर हमारे 11 million foreign tourists आ रहे हैं, 10 million foreign tourists आ रहे हैं, they're actually not all foreign tourists. And this is a key concern. Half of them are supposed to be people who come on official visit. Another 20% are supposed to be people who come on conferences. So the actual number of foreign tourists is estimated approximately 3 or 4 million out of 10 or 11 million. Now this is a point of very big concern, which means that people are not actually coming in for looking at Indian tourism holistically, whereas we believe that Incredible India is making an impact. So this is something that, but again, this is conjecture, so we need to look at that very importantly. Brand ambassador is very important. Now, अगर आप आजकल जगह-जगह इंडिया में जा रहे हैं, सचिन तेंदुलकर से ज़्यादा उनकी डॉटर की फोटो ज़्यादा दिख रही है. And that is because his daughter is a brand ambassador of Tourism Australia now. And why have they taken her as a brand ambassador? Because they know that she is popular because of a certain reason in the country. We don't have brand ambassadors. And one of the key things that we need to look at, if we want to grow tourism on a sustained basis, we need to have brand ambassadors who are unique to each country, but for which again a tourism budget is required. And we need to identify our top 10 markets, identify local people who are popular there, and look at brand ambassadors for them. Hotels की बात आई थी, and there is a very important thing we need to know here. हम चाइना और अमेरिका की बात अगर कर रहे हैं तो ये भी देखना चाहिए अगर डिमांड है सप्लाई की क्या स्टैंडिंग है. China and America each have on average 15 million hotel rooms. 15 million. India has around 2 million hotel rooms, out of which only 10% of them are in the organized category. Organized category means which are branded. 90% of them are ones that you may not be in a position to visit. Now this means that if we have to grow tourism, this is a demand angle that we just discussed about branding, about marketing. This is a supply angle. Supply angle, if you have to grow, now each hotel room, ladies and gentlemen, on an average, अगर हम 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, 1-star का weighted average लें, each hotel room comes around 50 lakhs per room, which means 50 lakhs per room to construct, which means if we have to grow tourism and grow hotel rooms, we require approximately 30 lakh crores. और अगर हम बैंक का लोन इनकॉर्पोरेट कर ले मतलब 15 लाख करोड़ प्राइवेट इक्विटी से आएगा, जिसके लिए इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू हैव होटल्स इन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर स्टेटस अ सर्टेन, जिससे आपका रेट कम हो जाएगा. अभी थोड़ा 50 डेस्टिनेशंस पे अलाउ किया गया है, बट दैट नीड्स टू बी इनकरेज्ड इन टर्म्स ऑफ डेस्टिनेशंस. नाउ इफ यू लुक एट अमेरिकन मॉडल, we know there is Disneyland, we know there is Las Vegas, we know there is New York, we know there are these 3 or 4 clusters. However, in India, we do not have tourism clusters. Some years back, when we worked with the finance ministry, they announced a scheme called mega tourism zones. And this is what is required to create radical tourism growth in India. You require to have a mega destination in the north, a mega destination in the south, west, east and northeast. These will become magnets for an integrated development for tourism. And each of these destinations, ladies and gentlemen, can have approximately 30 to 50 million tourists. However, as was rightly said all along in the morning, they need to have an integrated development approach till the last mile. A very important part of
if I may ask you something
yes.
on this point, and if we can be
yes.
more specific. India's source countries have always been those traditional, USA, UK, now Bangladesh and all. Now BRICS has become very active.
Yes.
And BRICS has been enlarged also. Now BRICS is relatively stable, peaceful compared to most of the Western countries and in US also. Similarly, the Asian countries, India and thaw between India and China. Now, do you think that India can increase its inbound tourism from these, new areas, or maybe we can tap these new source countries because we have good relations? So, can you just give me a one-liner or maybe your own thoughts on this?
No, it's a very good question. To put that in perspective, around 60% of India's, as Mrs. Rishi rightly said, 60 to 65% of India's tourists originally came from the Western markets. If, as he's rightly saying, if we have to move towards these markets, 3 or 4 things are important. Number one is the flight connectivity. Number two, and this morning, as Rajiv was saying, that has been postponed. Number two is the visa on arrival facility. If we are able to ensure that there is visa on arrival facility. Number three is the payment. The payment, how do you make payment in this? If you go ahead and, for example, if you go to China or you go to Russia or Brazil, and you can make payment in Indian rupees, like today you can make payment in Indian rupees in Dubai or Sri Lanka, or at least you can convert them without going through the dollar arbitration. This will ensure, these 3 things minimum will ensure that the traffic will be...
So, Mr. Ashish, we'll come back to you in the second round. So, I thank you very much, and it's been a wonderful thoughts that you projected. In fact, the idea of taxation and especially your domestic spends, how much a domestic tourist spends, where does he go, how many times he goes, that is still officially it is not known, and I think we need someone. In fact, many consultants, those foreign consultants keep asking, do we have any official figures for these domestic tourism? But every time, the Ministry of Tourism doesn't compile except for the DTV. So you've raised a very good point, because we need to do more research, and data today is very important. So friends, I would now like to go to our second panelist, Ms. Aishwarya Singh, who has a good background. She's worked in the Ministry of Tourism and was in the G20 cell. I would like